would like to welcome everybody here tonight. Obviously, you know the shape we're in everywhere in the whole world, it seems like, and having the limit. But you that are here and anybody that'll be streaming, watching the live stream, or watching it later, we're glad you joined in to keep abreast of what's going on in your county. We are doing our best to stay, and we're away from each other right now, wearing our masks, doing all the things we do to keep everybody, not just ourselves, employees, but also the citizens as safe as we can. I'm going to start out by reporting, before we start on this, report on our county executive and on his wife. And I'll preface it by saying on today's report we give at 3 o'clock, somebody sent Carrie a message, don't know who it was. We were breaking all kind of HIPAA laws by talking about them being sick, except for one thing, they told us to talk about them being sick. So we have not put out any information on Ted or Diane that they did not give us permission to do. Talked to Ted just a little bit before we got started here just a few minutes ago. He's feeling some better. He actually got up and put on his boots and walked around a little bit today, so he's feeling better. Diane is talking pretty good, but the fatigue portion of the whole thing is hitting her, and according to Ted, that's been one of the worst things, is just the knockout from it, the fatigue you go through. Both of them are getting better. Hopefully by the end maybe of next week, Ted will be back in here to some degree. I don't expect him to be back 5 days, full days, but that'll be his call when he no longer has symptoms and can come back under CDC guidelines. But that's the reason he's not here tonight. I think this is the third time, beginning my 14th year here on the commission, and this is my third time, maybe fourth time, to sit in this seat. And believe me, I'll be glad when he comes back and give it back to him. But I am vice chair, and it kind of falls to that. Maybe I could have talked Lamar into it, but I didn't have time. That's why you got here late. All right, so we'll go. The agenda, everybody received the agenda. That's item 1 in our workshop. And anybody have any questions about the agenda? It's mailed out, and we thank Rebecca and Don for getting all that out to us. Hearing none, the approval of our previous minutes. They do not have to be read because we did receive them as well. We have them in our packet, and we're giving them in a timely manner. Review of the personnel status report. We're showing we could have 181 employees. We have 169 employees, so a deficit of 12, and that's all across every part of the county. And so anybody have any questions on that? I don't think we've taken anybody or added to maybe this week. Any questions? All right, if you go down to number 4, we have, it's the board appointments and or proclamations, if we have any, and we do. Ansel Smith has, is Ansel, there he is. He has sent us a note you've got in your pocket and want to see if they could be put on the agenda for something that they want to do, and we're going to let them do that right now. Is anybody else out there with you to come in just for a moment, Ansel, or just yourself? If they can just kind of spread out. And
Yep, we'd like to recognize a couple of people and a company here in Trenton on behalf of the fire departments. Back in September, we had a pressurized container class. And if you don't know, Public Safety, GP, Georgia Public Safety Training Center is down in Forsyth, Georgia. Mm-hmm. That's where all the fire and police have to go get their training. There you go. Y'all can watch that, and we'll continue.
That'll keep us warm.
So, as I was saying, the fire academy, we have to go down. That's where the police and fire go get their certifications. This particular class is just an 8-hour class. So, we know our volunteers here in the county, it'd be hard to drive all the way down, get off work to go take an 8-hour class. It was a pressurized container class. So they have certain classes that they put on the road. You call and send in, and they'll send instructors up from the academy. And they had like a 250-gallon propane tank that's old. They've drained it all. They've cut holes in it, ran gas lines to it. And that's what it was showing right there. It was burning, and when the flame shot up real high, that's when the pressure release valve goes off to keep it from levying. And it teaches us to go up there with 2 hand lines, keep the tank cool, and stop when the pressure release valve goes off, and then cool it down more, and work our way up as a team to get up there to safely turn it off to get the fire out in a safe manner. So this class was coming up. It had to be postponed because of all of the restrictions and stuff, but we was doing a hazmat class up at Westboro, and Colton Pace, he come up to me, he said, who's donating the gas for the class? I said, well, I'm not sure, because, they postponed it. He said, well, give us a call. And so I did, and he said, all right, let me call my dad. He called David, works down at Suggs. They both work at Suggs, and they said, yeah, we'll donate the gas to you. And they said, how much you need? And I called the instructor. They said they can do it with 400 or so. I said, well, how much y'all want to bring? He said, we'll just bring a whole truck, which I think was like 2,800 gallons or so. So they brought the whole truck. They ended up, we used 650 gallons that night. No questions asked or anything. They donated the gas. They didn't ask for anything. Even when the class was over, that tank has to be offloaded off a trailer in the gravel parking lot.
Yeah.
So we was all going to have to sit there and figure out a way to get that back up there and push. And I called his dad, said, hang on, we'll be right back. We'll run to the station and get our service truck. So not a question asked. They come back here, got their service truck, loaded the tank back up for us. And all this was at night. So the class ended at 11 o'clock at night, because they like doing the pressurized container at night, because you could tell it was dark in the fire. It's better to see that way. So no questions asked. They stayed the whole time, didn't complain or anything. And, they always offered if we do it again, just to give them a call. So we got them a plaque made for Suggs Gas. It's an appreciation award. It's presented to Suggs Gas in recognition of your company's donation of time and materials to the Dade County Fire Departments. Your donation helped provide life-saving training to the volunteer firefighters in this community and surrounding communities. And we put on this 19th day of September because that's when the class was held. And the reason it says surrounding counties is them gyp stick classes, they open it up. There's Walker County, Catoosa, it goes on the calendar and people can sign up. We had people from Calhoun, Bartow County, Walker County, Catoosa, they all come up and took the class.
Good.
So tonight, we'd like to present this to Suggs Gas, for their appreciation time for the gas and then showing up. His dad couldn't make it, David. He stayed there the whole time. We also got y'all a little something else, if you don't care to pass it on to him. We really appreciate y'all's dedication. This is Colton Pace. He works down there at Suggs Gas, and his dad's David Pace. He also owns Westboro, and he was there the whole time. Lieutenant? Yeah. Oh, congratulations, he's a lieutenant now, so they were there the whole time and no questions asked. So we just wanted to appreciate them for what they did for us. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's what he's afraid of. No, we thank you, Ansel, and certainly thanks to Suggs Gas. That's a pretty good donation to training, and then allowing it to be done here in the other counties around us, not having to go do all that. It's much bigger than probably it sounds to us. Okay, go over to tab number 5, splashed and capital proposed purchases, if any. I think we have some here from some of our fire departments, Trenton, South Dade, and Davis. Are these all something that can be done together, or y'all want to come up? Tell us who you are and which fire department you're with. And
I'm Matt Hill, I'm Fire Chief at South Dade.
Mark Gibson from Davis.
I'm Trey Manson.
So we all got talking, and we are needing some scene lights for our fire trucks. We put out 3 bids, went to 10A, MES, and Randall Brackett Fire Truck Repair. Randall Brackett come back the cheapest bid. So I had it broke down for all 3 departments from Randall instead of one lump sum. Y'all need the numbers?
Looks like we got one for 5496.
Yes,
Okay, we got one for 11642,
yes,
7264.
yes,
Okay,
yes,
and that is your total of 24,361.
yes, sir.
And that's all 3. That's not one fire. That's for the 3 of them.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
And this is for lighting. I know I read through it. And
yes, sir.
this,
Yes, sir. It's for scene lights.
Anybody have any questions? Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Hartline, you got any?
No, I'm good.
He like me, never did put it on.
The people can't hear.
Don, I think we talked earlier today, in each fire department there is.
Yeah, each department is well in their means. They've not exceeded their limits yet, so those amounts are fine. They'll get fine.
Well, for the safety of, we talk about safety, and for the safety, well, it's not only for you guys. We appreciate what you do, but also as Commissioner Lowry said, a lot of times you're out here on these dark roads with accidents and different things like that, so give all the visibility we can. Want you guys to stay safe and keep working, keep helping the citizens, so I have no objections if everybody good with it.
Good.
All right, thank you guys for coming.
Thank you.
All right, we go to tab B.
Yep.
And
Okay, and tab
I will
B-
turn that to the county clerk.
Yeah. Tab B, the accounts payable lady came to me this week and asked me if this was fine to pay. And it typically, if it's under 5,000, we look at it, make sure it's within the bounds of the budget and all that, and it is. What I didn't notice on this initially, though, was it said sales tax. Well, we won't pay sales tax, but this qualifies for SPLOST. It's for the UGA Extension Agency. Sarah, I would have had Sarah come, actually, but she didn't. She doesn't even know I'm talking about this. But we had it in the bills to pay, so it tells me that they probably already have the items there. Our PO has already been issued. And what it is, it's a projector, mounting hardware, cables, connectors, Bluetooth mixer amplifier, projector screen. It's basically AV material for their showroom, the main room out there for them to put on presentations. So it is SPLOST. It's capitalized, so we definitely could use SPLOST to pay for it, and that's why I thought we better bring it before y'all and get a approval.
So we didn't have to pay, I know we said pay taxes. That's the reason we're talking about it, though, is because it came back with this tax amount on it that made it a little more.
It came back over 5,000, and I thought, so we need to bring that before the board. But then I looked at it closer, and we probably didn't have to, but anyways, it never hurts. So anyway, it puts it in our accounts payable things. So I'd prefer to go ahead and get it approved. And then there's a third request. We'll talk about it in a minute.
All right. Anybody have any questions? You understand the?
I'm fine with it.
Is this, Don, was this something that she'd brought to you?
No, it was actually we pay these things out of general fund. They get a grant every year, a capital, UGA itself gives them, I think, $1,000 grant they can tap. And I believe that's probably what they're using this for this time, is that $1,000 grant. But they need it's $5,208 is the amount that they're seeking. I'm the one that pulled it out and said, well, that actually qualifies for SPLOST.
Right.
So versus the general fund, which is always a better thing, anyway.
Okay. No, I don't have a problem with it.
Okay. Everybody good with it? Put it on the consent agenda. I may have to back up and punt here now. We got another one that came in at a late hour this evening, but does that need to be on the agenda and added as an item, or?
Well,
Even though we have splashed, if any, and it's in the book, we have it in our,
yeah, I mean, I put it under SPLOST. You're talking about C, is that what you're talking about?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the water.
Okay, so
from Jerry
Jerry Walker called this afternoon and requested that this be placed on the agenda, and I told her, I said, well, that was published back in the 22nd of December, but anyway, I said, we can listen to the proposal, and leave it up to the board to decide what they'd like to do, so.
So
Dr.
Dr.
Pullen
Pullen,
can,
Dr.
yeah.
Pullen is here. You want
Yeah.
to come up then and tell us, as he said, we don't, it's new to us. I know these other guys, I learned it an hour or two ago, but y'all have not seen it, so.
Mr. Goff and other commission board members, thank you. If it's any help, I didn't know I was supposed to be here till noon either. So, but anyway, thank y'all for listening to this. And I'm Bill Pullen. I'm here as a default spokesman requesting SPLOST funds for the Water Authority. And this is a problem that I've known about personally since before I got on the board several years ago. And it has to do with the water line that comes up. Some people call Old Hales Gap Road. The road says Sligo Road, but just on the north edge of the New England city limits that goes around through there by KOA. And that has been a problem ever since I've been on the board. And it's to the men in the trench and kind of in the creek and board members, it's a problem. We've had bad pipe. We thought it was a bad pipe. The pipe broke. We've replaced a lot of feet of pipe. But what's the emergent problem is the creek's eroding the bank and exposing the water line. And the line is broken in several places, and residents get without water until repairs can be made. And that's a dead-end line, I guess you could say. There's no collateral flow. It comes in by KOA and goes down the road and gets around the intersection at I-59, goes around Dugan Loop Road, and then on down Sligo Valley. But the Dade County Water and Sewer has attained a grant in the amount of $150,000 toward the cost of the project. But we couldn't do the initial project because Morganville Ridge Road sliding off, and we were unable to do that till that gets repaired and done. But using the Morganville Ridge road and going up through there, the project design cost was about $567,300 after grant funds were applied. And through a turn of events, we were able to obtain 7 acres of land on the Sligo Road that would allow us to, where previously we didn't have any right-of-way, we couldn't get right-of-way, that we could reroute the water line and not do up Morganville Ridge, which required another pump station and some rock work and a whole lot of expensive things. So the redesign project would run about $145,900 after grant funds are applied, and the projected redesign would say $421,400, and that's plus or minus about 10%. It's going to be a project that would be bid out, and we would like to request $145,900 in SPLOST money to complete this. I think it's in your packet. It came in my packet. On the computer, there was, the first thing was the original Morganville Ridge Road, and you can see the bottom line was the cost to authority was $567,300. And then,
We didn't get that, Dr. Pullen. We have got the 145,900, but we didn't get what you're.
okay, I
what you're
can
looking
leave
at.
you a copy. And I'm sorry I didn't make copies for everybody, but I've got a couple of copies. But the other, last one on my page is a breakdown of the cost of water main, a gate valve, interstate bore, 16-inch interstate bore case with 16-inch steel casing and connection to existing pipe. And there is where the drive to Mr. Bill Marshall's house, a KOA right in there, we already have a pump station, and we furnish water up to the KOA, which is a pretty good elevation up through there, and push it all the way around through Sligo Valley. So that's what we're requesting for your consideration.
Where is the bore going to be under the interstate? About crossing KOA there, or closer to the exit
Closer to
ramp?
Squirrel Town Creek.
Okay.
Closer to Squirrel Town Creek. We're going to try to tie it in just as close as we can, or could be anywhere from that TVA line. There's a TVA
Right.
line that crosses up until Squirrel Town Creek. But we had to acquire the property in there to run the line on into the pump station. That pump station was a tremendous cost and stuff.
So of all the options for the water company, this is by far the cheapest. You're
Oh,
throwing out of
absolutely.
400 or 600,000 down to 290 something or 259, and you got a $150,000 grant. So
Absolutely. That pipe is exposed to freezing weather, rain, when Squirrel Town Creek gets high, and limbs and debris and stuff come in there, and it literally just flops in the breeze. I mean, it's just suspended on the break in there.
Prior to becoming a commissioner on this particular water line, I have worked on that project at midnight. And when we got there, it just hangs out into the creek.
Yes,
So it's going to be an ongoing problem if it is not fixed.
thank you. Personal account.
Yeah, I've been there. I stayed there till about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning one morning because the whole, like you said, everybody was out of water.
So it feeds a lot of customers, Windy Acres and
yeah,
all around through there, yes.
Is that gonna help with them not being a dead end no more, too? Like you was referring to?
We're looking at how we can tie that in, but right now, we don't have an immediate plan to collateralize that, but we are looking at that. That is something we talked about at the last meeting or meeting before last. If we'd come across Morganville Ridge Road, when we cut it out, we were gonna have a longer time with folks without water tying in. So this cuts down on the amount of time that it takes to connect also.
On that one, I'm assuming y'all going to bore south of where it's at now, under the interstate. Would that be south of where it's at?
Probably, yes.
And then as far as that line, are y'all going to, where it's coming on around back to Sligo Road, are y'all going to move that line back off of the creek where it's at, or how much work are y'all going to do on that side? That's my question, I guess.
On which side of the creek?
It'll be on the east side of the interstate. I'm going to make that tie-in over
We're
there.
gonna try to get over on the other side. That's where on the west side, where we acquired the 7 acres.
Okay.
And we're gonna try to get over there, and then we'll have plenty of room and stay out of the creek. And that access at times, we've had to get folks to come in with a bulldozer and go down in there to get the crew in.
Yeah, we had to go in with a backhoe and a side-by-side. You can't get a truck to it, so I hauled them in all night with tools and stuff.
But our idea is to make it accessible for our personnel to work on it.
Right.
And when we have to, and we can cut out some of the bad pipe too by doing this.
question, Lamar.
No, I know, like he said, Sligo's had water problems for years. And
Absolutely.
was it ductile iron that kept breaking and blowing up, and when you're going back to
Kept breaking all the
PVC?
time.
A lot of it
I
was
remember it happened a lot.
PVC.
That particular spot we worked on was Transite, which is prior to the PVC.
Yeah.
That's still a plastic pipe though, or
No, it's
fiberglass?
kind of a concrete, like a concrete type pipe with a liner in it.
I've seen that pipe myself, and I know that it's just,
It's brittle.
it's brittle, yes.
I'm good with it.
Yeah, I don't have any issues with it.
Right on.
So,
Good with it.
thank y'all for your time and consideration.
I got the thumbs up from the clerk, and that thumbs up is that the Water Authority is in the splosh for an amount, and I know that's a lot of money, but if it's a fix and it gets those people, and I appreciate the fact, Philip, that you've been there and you know firsthand what we're talking about.
You don't have to
To
go
a
down
lot
at
of us,
night
it's,
anymore.
Do what?
You don't have to go down there at night anymore.
Right.
but you might buy a boring machine and be
Yeah.
doing some
You
boring.
can do that either.
Obviously, I missed my calling. I'd have got me a boring machine at some point for $150,000 to bore a hole. We dug them with spoons and everything back in my day. All righty. I don't think we have anything else on Splash. Thank you, Dr. Pullen, for coming. Now we have a report tonight from Alicia Jewell, is that correct? And this is HHM Hudson Henderson McCullough is the audit firm that, of course, has done our audit in the county for years. So she's going to tell us some awful good stuff tonight. I guess awful good is an oxymoron, but if it's good, we don't care if it's awful.
So I know you have the financials in your packets, but I also brought kind of a condensed version that we'll go over, so I'll reference the financials as we go through. So as Commissioner Goff shared, my name is Alicia Jewell, and I work with HHM Certified Public Accountants. And first and foremost, just thank you for giving us the opportunity to provide your audit services. We always enjoy working through that process with Dawn and Rebecca and everyone here. So I'm going to break it up into two sections, kind of more of a little administrative coverage, and then we'll get into some numbers for you. So I think the first question is always, what was the result? What kind of opinion was issued? And happy to report that an unmodified, clean report was issued with no findings. So now that we have that, we can hit the other highlights and know that we're in good shape. So another thing we like to kind of just cover is the process of the audit. You know, the county transacts many items through the different departments each year, and based on government auditing standards, you know, we come in and pick different transactions as selection based on those standards to look at them. So we don't look at every single transaction, but it's the significant ones in those in that audit process. We have another regulatory agency, the Government Accounting Standards Boards, and they issue out different pronouncements from time to time. And this year, we don't have anything to add to the financials based on any new pronouncements. So we'll keep posted for future years on that. Another thing to kind of go over in the financials is anything that would be considered an estimate. And the two things that would be considered estimates within the county's financials pertains to the accrual of compensated absences and then the estimated useful lives of property and equipment, also known as capital assets in the government world. So throughout the course of the audit, you know, we may propose standard closing entries, and then we also propose 2 entries related to the CARES Act grant and the Department of Transportation Capital Improvement Grant. And I'll kind of give a few more details when we get into the numbers on that. Also part of the audit, as we're going through the different transactions, you know, we're always aware for internal control processes, you know, looking, you know, through how the transaction was processed. And, you know, if we become aware of any fraud or internal control deficiencies, we're required to report that. And happy to report that we didn't come across any of those this year. So that kind of goes through the administrative piece. Let's go ahead and jump into some of the numbers, see some of the highlights. So on the next page, it's going to be the balance sheet highlights. And this corresponds to page 16 and 17 of your financial statements. It's going to be looking at the governmental funds. And this report is going to cover the county's position at a specific date and time, specifically June 30, 2020. You can see we have the different funds listed. I know you're all aware that the general fund is the operating fund. We've got the capital projects, which houses the SPLOST activity. Then E911 and law library fall under the special revenue fund type, which just means that a state law or some kind of organization requires that those funds be held separate from the operating funds. So we're going to focus mainly on the general fund because that is the operations of the county. And looking at the assets versus liabilities, you can see a positive fund balance of $2,993,519. Also, the other funds have positive fund balances, so that's a great position to be in from a fund-to-fund and overall county basis. Let's go ahead and turn the page to the next statement, the statement of revenues and expenditures and changes in fund balance. This is going to correlate to page 19 and 20 of your financial statements. And this is just going to show the accumulated activity of the year. So that's going to cover July 1 of 19 through June 30 of 2020. And looking again primarily at the general fund, you'll see revenues of $10,603,655 with expenditures of $10,305,326. A net change of $298,329. That's an 11% increase in the fund balance over the prior year. So, I mentioned the proposed journal entry on the CARES Act. Because of the timing of year end and when that CARES Act money was actually considered awarded, it couldn't be considered revenue this year. So these are results without that CARES money in it. So that's a positive thing that you have to look forward to for fiscal year 2021. That's going to be coming in and covering. So I guess that even speaks more volumes that you were able to have a positive fund result, a net increase in a year that was just, like none other we've seen in the recent past. So looking down to capital projects also had an increase in overall change for the year, 67% increase of the fund balance of the prior year, and then law library had a decrease of 2%. So that shows the overall activity. Trending still with the general fund, we'll turn to the next page and look at some budget highlights. This breaks the different expense categories down by department, but we'll look just at the total revenues, final budget versus actual. The revenues exceeded the budgeted amount, and then total expenditures came under budget by $416,820. So since we're focusing in on the general fund, which is the operating, the next page is going to take another comparison. This kind of helps take a look at some of the health of the county. And what this is looking at is we're looking at the fund balance that we saw on the previous pages of $2,993,519, and then the total expenditures for the year. And what this is, the ratio that's calculated is looking at how long could the county maintain business without taking in any additional revenue. And you can see the recommended range is at 16 to 33%, or 2 to 4 months, and falling right within that 29%, or 3.44 months. So that's a very positive position to be in. And I know it hasn't always been that way here, so commend Don, Rebecca, and the commissioners for taking that time to put forth the efforts to make wise fiscal decisions and move forward towards the citizens of the county. So that's a high overview of the financials. I know there's more information in the note disclosures, and I'm sure everybody's going to take theirs out and read it word for word tonight. So, but is there any questions that I could answer while I'm here, and I'm always available at other times if somebody has something they think of.
Anybody have any questions?
I'm good.
I would just like to thank y'all. I know this for your team when they came here, just like everybody else, it's been a difficult year trying to stay away yet be there, so to speak.
It has, pronounced.
We thank you for your report tonight because, as you said, it hadn't always been that way. With everybody's help, all of our departments, we've come a long way in the last 3 or 4 years from that fund balance. We hated to hear that word. Yeah. But it sounded much, much better.
Well, we're just reporting back what you've, worked hard to do.
What is actually there, yes.
Yep. So
And we thank y'all for that, and we thank you for being here tonight, and stay safe and stay warm.
definitely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, if you go over to number 7.
So you're going to add that to the consent agenda? Add that to the consent agenda for?
Oh, yes,
Okay,
yes,
okay.
please.
All right.
And Donna, we know what this is, but just give it a half a minute of explanation.
Sure, okay.
And mention this year's if you.
Yep,
you know.
yep. So every January, we do approve a resolution to obtain a line of credit or tax anticipation note. That's what they're called in local government services, of $800,000. We did that last year in January. Fortunately, this past year, we did not have to use that. That is a very good fiscal sign that the tax rate's about where it needs to be. Typically, you know, if we have to dip into this at all, really, but especially around, say, August to September, that kind of shows that you may not, you know, your millage rate may not be quite high enough. So I think it's excellent that we did not have to. It is here, you know, it's good to have this pre-approved, again, in case there's some kind of emergency or something and we need instant cash. But, and even if we do invoke this later, it would probably not be until September, I would think, maybe early October. There's always one payroll about that time, and then when we pay our group insurance, you know, it can just drain your account, so it's just not good to hit zero. But hopefully we won't have to use it, but it's just there in case.
Yep. And one, you know, going back to one thing that could have been a use for this, the CARES Act was totally different than, say, when the tornadoes come through. We thank Alex and everybody that worked on it, anybody had any part of working on all this stuff that we had to have, and some of it sitting right here, all these shields and different things. They allowed you to turn in what you need, sent the money first. The federal government, when the tornadoes, that wasn't the case. You had to pay for what you had to fix,
Right.
and then you had, so that was draining everything at the time. So the fact that they did that helped us, I think, on this, not having to use it.
Right.
Maybe we wouldn't have anyway, but that's the first time I can recall that we have not used the
Right.
TAN note at all in a year. So that speaks well for, again, everybody. It speaks well to the citizens, and it speaks well for all the departments in our government to be able to say that today. So we'll add that to consent agenda. Number 8, resolution to approve a memorandum of understanding with the Family Crisis Center of Walker, Dade, Catoosa, and Chattooga Counties, Inc. And I think this is something we do.
It is.
A lot of this is January housekeeping, I guess you would call it.
It is.
So if any questions on it, well.
It's just an agreement we have in place with them. For years, they didn't ask for this, but they actually asked for the approval. Probably their CPA at some point asked for it, so it's just a good thing to have. It hasn't changed in the last 7 or 8 years that I'm aware of.
Any questions? All right, add that to the consent agenda. All right, number, what are we on? 9 is a resolution, number R30-03-21, a resolution designating county Forefield, what we know is Forefield, that's not the name of them, recreational area as the Larry Moore Park. And I don't know that we got, John, did we get a copy of the, oh, never mind, I don't know what I'm asking. If you look, and I'm going to read this, I did try to get, or talk to the Moores about being here tonight. They saw it better not to come due to COVID and that kind of thing. But it says, whereas Dade County, the county is a political subdivision duly created, validly existing under the laws of the state of Georgia. Whereas the Board of Commissioners or the Commission is the county governing authority of Dade County, Georgia. Whereas Larry Moore served as the Commissioner of Roads and Revenue of Dade County from 1980 until 1992, and which was our last sole commissioner, it's not noted here. Whereas during his tenure, Commissioner Moore was instrumental in obtaining funding for the acquisition of land and construction of the ball fields, playgrounds, and/or recreational facilities in what has become commonly known as the Forefields area within Dade County, the Dade County Sports Complex. Since their creation, the four fields recreational areas have been provided a place for recreational use and enjoyment for the youth and all citizens of Dade County. Whereas the commission deems the designation of the four fields recreational areas as Larry Moore Park to be fitting and appropriate recognition for the contributions made by Larry Moore on behalf of the citizens of Dade County. Now therefore be it resolved that the four fields recreation area located within Dade County Sports Complex is hereby named and designated as Larry Moore Park. Now that is not changing the name, Robin, from the sports complex. It's only adding that name, recognition of his work and what he did 3 decades ago, because Mr. Moore he brought recreational sports to Dade County. It may have, I'm not saying it would have never come, wouldn't have been here today, but he brought it a long time ago, and I don't think there's more of a supporter. And to see this, because I think most of us that would remembers a lot of people saying, why do we need more ball fields? Same thing we'd probably say today, but except a lot of people are saying, why can't we build more ball fields today? Because it's a great place. So this is a resolution. I'll ask if anybody has any questions, objections.
I've got some questions on it.
Okay.
When you say Mr. Moore was instrumental in obtaining the funding for it, did he go out and get grants, private money, or did he use taxpayers' dollars?
It was grant money.
All of it was grant money, so we didn't spend no
I'm not
taxpayers.
sure now. Again, I was in school back in, well, not in school, just out of school back in those days. I think, Mr. Hartline, it would be like it is today. We're spending taxpayer money to maintain it to a great degree, and a lot of money. And looking at other things, because we're talking, I know I've talked to Stacy, and I think you have too, about there's never been any signage to that field. It's just been commonly known as four fields, and I think we found out, I'm not sure, Robin, correct me if I'm wrong, if it's even the Dade County Sports Complex or the Dade County Park. Yeah. And this going to the quitclaim deeds that were looked at.
So on one of the documents, it's referred to as the Dade County Recreational Park. As we're marketing it now, I think we're marketing it as the Dade County Sports Complex. And so, and when you look at the area, there's, you've got the ball fields, then the tennis courts, and then the soccer fields. And this deals with that portion that was actually acquired and developed during the time that Mr. Moore was the commissioner here. And so,
And the senior citizens building, I think, as well.
as well as and there's a playground there as well.
So go ahead, Mr. Hartline, I didn't.
Well, I understand that he probably took a lot of hits off of building this because people didn't want it at the time. It was, there again with the question if taxpayers' money built it or not. He grew our county budget by, at that time we was probably spending $80,000 to $90,000 a year on it. It's up to $220,000 a year now, which he grew our budget. At the time, you said he brought in the rec sports, but I know at that time there was at least 5 ball fields on Sand Mountain, plus North Dade, South Dade. That's just the ones that I know that was in my district.
Well, when I say rec sports, I'm more talking about the rec football, which later become, there was no such thing as soccer up until a few years ago, which is about bigger than football now. So, but he was instrumental in bringing rec league football and those kind of things in. I think baseball's always been here. It's been America's game, and every school had a field, and some of them have grown up now and gone the way of the. But anyway,
Nothing against Mr. Moore, but I'd just like to see this go to a vote because I feel strongly and I don't agree with it.
Do you want to put it to a voice vote?
I would like to put it to a voice vote, yes, sir.
And that will be in the meeting, not now. Anybody else right now have anything that you want to?
No, I'm proud that this was brought forward, and of course, I'm all for it, but well, as commissioners, we all know, my dad was the commissioner when we added on the soccer fields. You have to have vision of what you want for your county. And I think Larry Moore's vision has proven paid off for the youth of this county. So I'm proud to support it.
I'm behind it 100%.
Okay. So we will put that, though, as a voice vote on the, during our commission meeting. All right. All right, go to number 10. We have Resolution R-04-21 to amend the fiscal year 2020 budget. And again, back to our chief financial fellow.
All right, just as Alicia, our CPA, mentioned a minute ago, there were a couple of different adjusting journal entries that they actually, the CPAs recommended. You'll look on the back side, it's page 2, you'll see those. And she recalled CARES Act, there's $390,000 that they're going to actually take out of FY20 and put over into FY21. So that's what that is. There was a decrease in property tax, and that was just to clean up the books because it was an overage. And then the two things listed below there is transportation and the tax assessors. And basically, it was just a small overage. If we don't fix those kind of things, the Department of Audits and Accounts will ding us on those, and we'd have to send a letter explaining why they were over. So that's why they encourage us to pass budget amendments. So that's what that is. And the second one, it was public transportation for an increase of $60,000, and that had to do with our two buses that we bought, vans. The expense was greater. We have to show 100% of the expense, and then in revenues, and then because you double it. But bottom line is, we still only paid 10%. 10%. Yeah, a total of 10% of what we got.
You have to show the whole value in order to
Right. It's just governmental accounting requires you to show it. It's almost like you're approving it twice on the expense side.
Yeah.
That's the way it is when it's.
Well, it's like Alicia, when she used that Georgia auditing stuff, it's audited altogether different than what, I don't understand audits anyway, but all this stuff. But anybody have any questions on this resolution? If not, we'll add that to the consent agenda. And we have coming now before us Resolution R-05-21, a resolution approving the CHI Memorial Ambulance Service contract, and we'll let our EMA Director Alex Kay speak to that.
As you all know, since September, we sent out our RFP and got the recommendation back with our advisory committee and went through and we presented this of what those results were. And it's taken us longer to get the contract due to the attorney, I think with CHI being out for the last 2 weeks. And we sent you the final version, I believe, Tuesday night evening. We finally got the last one after me and Robin went through it Tuesday morning or right after lunch and went through it and sent it out to y'all. We did hear back from them that they're okay with that, what the two things that we did change. And so it's in our hands now if we want to award the contract with this group.
Well, you did send it out, and I looked through it, but I'm just going to say this, just to be honest, the only way I know to be. Being on the Dade County Commission does not make me an expert on an ambulance service, nor any of the lingo that goes with it. I do know that you've worked hard on it, as well as the other two counties.
Yes.
This is not just, it's been a joint between Dade, Walker, and Catoosa.
Well, Dade and Walker right now.
Yeah, because Catoosa's still okay.
Yeah,
but
we looked at our original contracts from 15 that we just redone in those times, and then this will be our fourth contract since 08, when Hutchison left us in 08. They come to us August, or pretty late in the year of 08, and said they wasn't going to be an ambulance service. By 09, we had to do something.
right, we did.
It was less than
I remember it
three
well.
months
Yeah.
to do something.
And this is a good fit for us. I mean, me and you've talked plenty for that. And it is also was the lowest bid that we actually got back for an ambulance service.
That's correct.
So I want to make that real clear.
Even
It was
in
a pretty good jump.
2008 and however before, we were paying Hutchison $150,000 a year. And then right now, we're paying them Puckett $159,300 a year in our current budget. So ever since I've been here, we've been getting a really good deal for what we've got. But we've also been blessed with SPLOST and CARES Fund and trauma grants and things that we built Dade EMS to help with this and help make the subsidy lower with the current the current provider that we have with providing that truck. You know, and it's used a lot. I mean, it's used a lot. There's times they just can't provide the service, and they're, you know, and it ain't saying it's gonna happen with Memorial. It could be that same as well. It's just that when Lamar gives his report tonight, you'll see we've jumped tremendously in calls this year due to what we're fighting right now. It's amazing how many calls we run year in. I was just floored by it, so.
Well, I know you put in a lot of sweat over the years. It's something,
Well,
it's one of those things you don't want.
Yeah.
You don't want to call and them say, we don't have a truck.
Yeah, well, it's no different than our volunteer firemen. They answer every medical call as well. You know, they took time off during the first time of this pandemic, and the association and chiefs decided that it was time to go back. And they did, and we precautioned ourselves, and we have to treat every call with it. And an incident was brought up at our meeting Monday night of a structure fire that happened here in the city. 3 departments, chief, 3 or 4 departments were here. And come to find out, the people that were housed and positive. So here's our guys in the fire, in the house, in a COVID house. No, home say our gear, our SCBAs, but outside when the family was coming up, we finally found out everybody had to step back. We had to decon, we had to check, so everybody's watching themselves now. So it brought up some issues Monday night that we discussed that we're going to have to treat everything we go to just like that because of the safety of these volunteers and our EMS, you know, the people that we have part-time paid. Our contractor can't provide the service, and that's a crutch. I've always called it a crutch. That crutch has picked up our sheriff one day. It's picked up several people when we didn't have it. And Tommy Bradford's still the key point that if we hadn't had that licensed ALS first responder vehicle, we had no trucks in Dade County when Tommy got hurt. The closest one was coming from Whitwell. And it wasn't for Kyle Gross, myself, Cody Doyle, the sheriff's guys that stopped and took care of him. We took care of him. And then Tim Sharp was on, and his guy was on a county truck for Puckett on a sick call. They AMA'd, which means they signed and said they'd go on and got down there and carried him. We had him packaged ready, you know, things like that's what we do. These people care. Our volunteer firemen care for their communities and fight hard. Some of the same people fight hard to keep medical care for our county because there's a time and a need for it. I'm a very small part of this. I'm a very small part. So, I'm an EMT as well to help with that.
It's like I said in my report last week, if you're in a bad car accident or whatever, it's not the police or the ambulance people that are digging you out of that. That's our volunteer firefighters.
Which a lot of us started there, and I'm blessed to be in the county that we can and work with Rodney and all these other guys. You know, we do butt heads sometimes, but that's just our stubbornness as guys, as we all do. But the whole point is taking care of our community, and our communities aren't county. Our slice of heaven, I call it, our county shape to me is what I call it. Tell everybody when they come up here.
All right, anybody, I know Lamar, you've already spoke some, but if you have any other questions, any other comments?
No, I've talked to everybody I know to talk to and examined it. It's the lowest bid, and it's a good deal for it.
Because what we are doing is accepting the contract that's attached to this resolution. It's, I know we talked about maybe having to have a special call meeting and all.
Well, we were
that was
hoping
because of the essence of time to
Yeah, I guess the second meeting we had with Robin and the CHI brought out information, they wanted to expedite it quickly to get through CHI's input, to get their budget in and all like that. Well, here we are after today with 23 days.
Yep.
So they have went ahead and built that budget and going, but you know, yeah, because it's within us.
No, I'm good with it.
I'm good with it. I've talked to Alex, for several hours off and on about this situation, so.
Well, it's, as you said, I know in 2009 we come in, that was the first thing to hit that commission was, oh, by the way, we're not running ambulances anymore, that being Hutchinson.
We're done.
And one of the things that we got to control is because of the zone, the way the state of EMS, the zone of Dade County and Walker County was controlled by Hutchinson Medical Center at that time. So Walker and Dade had to fight to get that, and we can control who works in our county. We can control how much they charge our citizens. That's something that we can negotiate, or you can as commissioners. So that's what we try to keep the costs down and helping with Medicare rates. working with our indigent care where they come up with a special system. And we've met, Dade and Walker has met with them several times. We're meeting every other day, either by conference call, getting our plans together, but there's also times to get CHI involved with his trauma commission to help get indigent funding, to help get revenues back for our indigent care that they have to provide. So that's our part to help them get that, to provide these services and get grant money to help provide those services too, equipment-wise, which we get every year. So the only thing I ask, and I meant to grab Robin, since our county executive is out and unable to sign, can our vice chair sign that document and we can get it continued, okay?
All right, no one else has a question, put that on the consent agenda. Don?
Thank you all.
Thank you, Alex. Going to number 12, and this is an intergovernmental agreement with, let's see, the Dade County Board of Elections and Registration. And this is for the, Don, is this the one for the school board or?
No, we're actually going to recommend to table
That?
tonight.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's several changes, and then it'll need to go before the city attorney maybe, so,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, so we'll table that to the next meeting. And going over to number 13, intergovernmental agreement between the Dade County Industrial Development Authority, City of Trenton, Dade County, Georgia, for funding of the position of Economic Development Director. And I guess that is here, Mr. William Back. And
So it was out, it needed to be an annual contract that's renewed. And so we've asked Robin, and he has done so, to put an automatic renewal in there. What is it, Robin, up to 3 years?
3 years.
Yeah, yeah. So every 3 year, it'll renew automatically up to 3 years, and then have a chance to take a look at it, so.
now, has the city gotten this yet? Or will y'all take it up?
Well, the city brought it to our attention.
You know how these clerks work? Yeah, and that's one of the things we've done, I guess, when we originally done that back when Peter was here, so.
Yeah, this agreement has been in place and it's just expired, and so what you have in front of you is a,
It's just giving us a term limit basically on it, which is 3 years.
correct.
3 years term limit.
And it follows fairly closely the pre-existing agreement that we had with the earlier.
No, right at this time, no money changes or whatever, no, okay. All right, that looks like everything we've got on our agenda through number
You want to put that on the
13.
consent agenda?
Yes,
Okay.
consent agenda. I'm sorry, Don, I forget that, thank you for reminding me.
It's okay.
All right, does anybody have anything before we adjourn for just a few minutes, and then we'll go into our regular commission meeting? Anything else you wanna? We got a few things to cover. I know everybody's reports then, so we will adjourn our work session and be back in.
We usually ask at this point if people want to say anything.
Oh, that's right, I get so used to that being. Does anybody here have anything you wanna come up and talk to us about anything before the coming up session? All right, we'll have appearances here in a few minutes. If anybody does, you're here to report on something. Okay, this meeting is adjourned, and we'll be back in about maybe 10 minutes to get started on our regular commission meeting.